You're not going to believe this Blake Lively just got caught in another lie. And this time, it didn't even take a full day for the truth to come out, with whispers from the deposition room spilling into the public faster than Blake's PR team can clean up the mess. This isn't just a slip-up. This could completely unravel her legal defense and prove she's been misleading the court all along. And trust me, the tea that's now trickling in, it's scalding hot, it's unfiltered, and it's painting a very different picture of the actress America once adored. They said her confidence was unshakable. They said her team had every angle covered. They said Blake Lively would never get caught. Red-handed, but all of that shattered in an instant when a single court filing exposed what appears to be a carefully constructed lie unraveling right before our eyes. And it didn't take long before creators, fans, and even former colleagues started whispering the same question. If Blake lied about this, what else is she hiding? Because the revelation wasn't subtle. It wasn't buried in legalese, it was front and center. And now, as new details emerge from the deposition room, what we're hearing behind the scenes is making everyone rethink which side of this legal war they believe in. Welcome back to Starscope, the place where the truth fights to rise above the noise. And today's update is one you'll want to hear to the very end, because for the first time, we have real insight into what might have gone down in that deposition room where Blake Lively reportedly faced the kind of scrutiny she thought she could avoid. What's most shocking about this entire twist is how quickly the lie was debunked. It wasn't some obscure technicality. It was a factual claim. Her lawyers submitted a statement about communication logs between Blake and a certain media outlet. They claimed those emails never existed. They swore under penalty of perjury that their client had no digital footprint related to the outlet's story about Justin Baldoni. But less than 24 hours later, guess what? Surfaced archived screenshots, emails from her official account, and metadata proof that not only did Blake Lively correspond with that outlet, but she may have actually pushed a narrative about Baldoni that now forms the center of the defamation case. And when those emails went public quietly through a court doc dump on a Friday evening, the internet didn't stay quiet. For long, creators on TikTok, legal analysts on Twitter, and even some former co-stars began to weigh in, and the tone wasn't supportive. In fact, some went so far as to say this could amount to obstruction. And if you think that's dramatic, just wait until you hear what's rumored to have gone down inside that deposition room. Sources close to the case who've chosen to remain anonymous for obvious reasons are now sharing chilling insights. Apparently, Blake was calm when she walked in, elegant, well-styled, and smiling. But within the first 10 minutes, according to these insiders, that calm shattered, they say. The opposing counsel came in armed with receipts, printed emails, timelines linked directly to her own statements from interviews and PR appearances, and one by one those contradictions started piling up. The tone shifted, the body language shifted, and the pressure, it seems, got to her. There's a moment everyone's now talking about, one that allegedly shook the room. The lawyer asked her point blank, "Mrs. Lively, do you deny sending this email to the editorial director on April 3rd? And there was silence, a pause that reportedly stretched too long for comfort, before her own attorney stepped in and asked for a recess. Some insiders say she looked visibly rattled. Her hand was shaking, and that recess turned into a 30-minute break behind closed doors. But the real kicker, the real turning point wasn't even what she said. It was what she didn't say. Insiders are suggesting that several questions were met with, "I don't recall," or "I'd need to see that," in context. And while those phrases might sound safe in legal terms when used too often, they raise eyebrows, especially when the opposing side has the receipts to contradict them in real time. And from what we're hearing, they did. And this is where things take a darker turn. Because once it became clear that some of her testimony might be inaccurate or misleading, the conversation in the room reportedly turned towards sanctions. Yes, you heard that right. There was allegedly a moment where a member of the legal team suggested that the false email denial could be considered grounds for consequences ranging from monetary fines to referral for further investigation. Now, that doesn't mean charges are being filed or that she's automatically in legal jeopardy, but it does mean the court is now paying closer attention. And that's not what Blake or her team wanted. As we all know, perception matters, especially in high-profile celebrity cases. And once the word lie gets attached to your name, especially in a legal context, it becomes incredibly difficult to recover credibility. And that's exactly what's happening here. The deposition was supposed to clarify the facts, but instead it seems to have raised even more questions about what Blake knew, when she knew it, and why she or her team would deny something that could so easily be disproven. And this brings us to the bigger question: who advised her to lie? Or was this a strategic move gone horribly wrong? The legal community is now buzzing with speculation. Some think her team genuinely believed the emails were scrubbed or inaccessible. Others believe this was a gamble. They hoped no one would call out, but regardless of the why, the outcome is the same: credibility, lost, damage done, and narratives rewritten across social media platforms. And it didn't help that just hours after this information began spreading online, Justin Baldoni's team filed a motion to compel further disclosures, alleging that Blake's legal responses had been incomplete or misleading. That motion is now scheduled for emergency review, which could accelerate the entire timeline of this already volatile case, and creators are picking up on the energy. The tone has shifted from celebrity gossip to legal accountability, and people want answers. They want to know if Blake Lively really orchestrated a media smear campaign, if she misled the court, and if she's going to face consequences or simply walk away protected by privilege and PR. But one thing is clear now: the facade of perfection is cracking. And behind that pastel aesthetic, there may be a lot more darkness than anyone realized. And here on Starscope, we're going to keep digging, because this story is far from over. And just when everyone thought the situation couldn't get more bizarre, more twisted, more absolutely unhinged, we get the drop of what might be the most stunning twist yet, because right in the middle of this messy legal feud, as the media scrambles and fans are left gasping over every breaking detail, new filings begin leaking out. And these aren't just any filings. These are internal deposition notes previously unseen drafts and fragments of Blake Lively's own prepared testimony. And what's in them might just destroy whatever narrative she was trying to hold on to, because it's all there, scribbled in black ink, annotations, crossouts, edits, and contradictions. And more than one line now appears to directly contradict her own legal defense. We're talking about full-blown reversal of statements, denials replaced with acknowledgments, vague language suddenly clarified and not in her favor and now legal. Experts are saying that if even one of those inconsistencies is proven intentional, if even one contradiction can be shown to have been deliberate, we might be entering perjury territory. And let's be clear, perjury is not just some minor courtroom etiquette violation. It is a criminal offense punishable by fines or even jail time. And while no one's saying that Blake's going to prison tomorrow, what they are saying is that this is no longer a PR problem. It's a legal liability that could have ripple effects far beyond this case, and the internet is watching with their popcorn out, because Blake Lively's entire online persona has been built on precision, on polish, on careful media choreography, and now all of it is cracking under the weight of receipts. Because this isn't gossip, this isn't rumor, this isn't speculation. These are her words, her edits, her pen marks, and they tell a very different story than what her team's been pushing. And fans are going back frame by frame, moment by moment, trying to match what she said publicly with what's now emerging, and it's not looking good. And meanwhile, Justin Baldoni's team is seizing the moment, because what they've just done is nothing short of brilliant. With the timing perfectly calculated as Blake's credibility takes a hit, they quietly file a new motion, a motion that directly references her previous denials, and they're using her own deposition material to undermine her defense. This isn't just strategy. This is a tactical strike, and it's working. Because the judge just ordered a hearing to review the discrepancies, and that could mean new subpoenas, extended testimony, and even forcing Blake back into deposition under different terms. Terms she won't be able to dodge this time. And let's not forget what happened last time. Her legal team delayed and stalled and danced around deadlines, citing scheduling conflicts and personal matters. But now the court isn't buying it, and the public definitely isn't, because content creators everywhere are raising hell, calling out the double standards, the deflection, the calculated silence, while influencers are getting dragged through courts and canceled over tweets. Blake Lively has allegedly lied under oath, and she's getting primetime interviews instead of consequences. But that tide is turning, and you can feel it. Fans are turning too slowly at first, but then faster. Influencers who once backed her now quietly removing their support. Creators who were too scared to speak out now posting receipts and breakdowns of the timeline, and every piece makes it clearer. Blake's defense is crumbling, and Ryan Reynolds is nowhere to be seen. He's keeping quiet, staying far from the cameras while his wife faces the storm, and That silence is only raising more questions, because where is the support? Where is the joint statement, the united front they've always had? And instead, all we're getting is rumors of tension behind the scenes, legal separation whispers, contract, disputes, and it all feels eerily coordinated, or maybe not coordinated enough because leaks are coming from every direction now, and each one tells the same story. The control is slipping and Starscope is breaking it down piece by piece for you. Because you deserve the full truth, not just the headlines. And if you think this is explosive, wait till you hear what's coming in part 3, because the next revelations will change everything, and just when we thought the contradictions couldn't. Spiral deeper, just when every legal analyst was still processing the handwritten inconsistencies in Blake Lively's deposition papers. We get the moment that made even her most loyal defenders stop cold because new footage started making rounds. Across Twitter, TikTok, and niche legal breakdown channels, footage of a private conversation allegedly captured in the hallway, just outside a preliminary deposition session. A video barely a minute long, and yet it sent waves across the internet. Like an aftershock to a legal earthquake in the video, a woman who many now believe is Blake herself can be heard asking her legal counsel if a specific statement about Justin Baldoni's team was still worth pushing. The words "still worth" pushing now burned into the timeline because they suggest not just a reframe, not just a moment of PR strategy, but an actual acknowledgement that parts of the story may not be rooted in truth. And fans aren't the only ones dissecting every word. Legal commentators have already broken it down frame by frame, audio by audio, filtering the hallway. Echo matching the voices, and one prominent voice analysis expert on YouTube who's testified in real court cases claims with over 87% confidence that the voice in the video matches previous recordings of Blake. And if that holds even in informal media, court of public opinion, the implications are massive. Because suddenly, the entire framing of Blake Lively as the poised, composed, honest victim is in doubt. And it doesn't help that this video dropped just as a judge signed off on a new motion, forcing Blake to reappear for deposition, this time with an independent oversight and limited prep time. And that matters, because without time to craft and rehearse, she'll have to answer plainly, directly, without rehearsed vagueness. And Justin Baldoni's lawyers are reportedly preparing a brutal series of questions, each one based on newly emerged contradictions from her own testimony, fragments, and the possible hallway video. And while Blake's team is scrambling to discredit the video, calling it heavily edited and out of context, even that excuse feels thin now, because fans are compiling a full timeline of public statements, private leaks, and this footage fits too well into the larger pattern of manipulation. And now let's talk about the creators, the YouTubers who were targeted early on, the ones Blake's PR machine tried to silence. Remember them, the ones who got legal threats, copyright strikes, NDA requests. Some of them even received direct cease and desist notices. And guess what? They're coming back, not just with evidence, but with allies. Because after this leak, many of them are forming a coalition, a digital defense team, if you will, launching a creator-led response initiative demanding transparency, protection, and fair treatment, and it's working. Their videos are exploding, trending hard, exposing how Blake and her team allegedly went after them, using legal muscle to suppress criticism. And here's the kicker. Many of those creators claim to have private emails, direct messages, and even behind-the-scenes footage from production assistant staffers and anonymous sources who are finally ready to talk because something has changed behind the curtain. Those closest to Blake, those who once stayed quiet, are now starting to leak from within, whispers of crisis meetings, midnight strategy calls, paid PR firms being pulled off the case and replaced by crisis handlers, all while Ryan Reynolds remains conspicuously absent. And this silence speaks volumes, because this isn't a PR pivot. It's a retreat, a signal that even Ryan may no longer believe the narrative. Or maybe he's protecting himself. Maybe he knows what's coming next, because what we're hearing now from insiders is shocking. According to leaked documents that Starscope has verified, with 3 independent sources, Blake Lively's team allegedly considered filing a retaliatory claim against Baldoni months ago, but backed off after discovering internal communications that contradicted her public position, meaning they knew early on that there were holes in her story. But they moved forward anyway, and now that those contradictions are out in the open, the only move left is distraction, misdirection, throw someone else under the bus and hope the fallout is survivable. But the internet isn't falling for it anymore. Fans who once idolized her are waking up. And it's not just because of one video or one leaked email. It's the pattern. The arrogance, the assumption that charm and red carpet appearances would be enough to steamroll anyone who dared speak out. And now people are speaking out. Louder than ever, lawyers, experts, creators, and even fans who have spent years supporting her, and they're all asking the same question. How long has she been lying, and what else are they hiding? And that question is about to explode because part 4 is where we go even deeper into the vault. New subpoenas, damning emails, and the moment Blake Lively realizes her media empire is slipping from her hands faster than she ever imagined. And now we arrive at the part that no one thought would actually happen, the part where Blake Lively's entire narrative begins to fracture under the weight of hard evidence. Because if part 3 was the spark, this is the wildfire, because late last night, a new set of court filings was quietly unsealed, and what they contain is devastating, not just for Blake, but for her legal team, her brand, and maybe even her marriage. The documents, which were submitted in response to a motion by Justin Baldoni's legal counsel, outline a chronological chain of internal communications between Blake's PR representatives, legal advisors, and at least 2 outside media consultants. And what do these communications reveal? Simple. The lie was known long before the public ever heard about it, months before Blake's team claimed that Baldoni and the creator community had engaged in a malicious smear campaign. There were already private messages circulating within her own inner circle that admitted concern about the optics of pushing a false narrative. One message in particular has now gone viral across legal Twitter and Reddit because it reportedly says, and we quote, "She knows it's weak, but she thinks people will believe her anyway." And that one sentence, that chilling admission, completely transforms the case because it turns Blake from a potential victim into a potential manipulator. And suddenly everything that followed, the cease and desist letters, the threats against YouTubers, the coordinated takedowns, the shifting public statements, the curated interviews, all of it now looks like a calculated strategy and not just poor advice or misunderstanding. And what's worse is that a second email chain from the same timeline contains a conversation about contingency planning in case the lie didn't hold, suggesting that this wasn't some last-minute mistake, but a multi-step plan with backup narratives ready to deploy. And that is why the judge overseeing this case has now fast-tracked Blake's next deposition with a mandate that she answer specific questions under oath regarding the inconsistencies, the leaked video from the hallway, and the emails. And get this, there will be no virtual option this time. The court wants her present in person, on camera, and accountable. And as if that wasn't enough, 2 of the creators she initially targeted have now filed a joint countersuit claiming damages, emotional distress, and career sabotage, and they're not going in weak. One of them has hired a defamation lawyer who has previously won high-profile cases against major celebrities and corporations, and this same lawyer has told the press that they're confident discovery will uncover not just misconduct, but intentional malice, and the legal implications of that are enormous. If Blake's team is proven to have knowingly fabricated a claim that resulted in harm to public figures, even on YouTube, it could result in financial penalties, career limitations, and even a formal apology mandated by court, and that's something no PR strategist can spin. And speaking of PR, the situation is becoming untenable for Blake's image consultants, because every time they try to pivot the narrative, a new leak undermines the strategy. First, they tried to blame the legal confusion on miscommunication. Now we know it was coordinated. Next, they claimed Blake was unaware of what her team was doing. Now we know she was involved, and now they're trying to distract by shifting focus to her family life, hoping the public will see her as a mother first. But even that move is falling apart because Ryan Reynolds has not issued a single statement since this new evidence came out. Not one tweet, not one press release, not even a vague gesture of support, and insiders are now reporting that the 2 are in separate residences, at least temporarily. And it's not just a personal rift, it's strategic. Because sources say Ryan's team is concerned that any association with Blake's case could tarnish his own brand, especially as he negotiates several new franchise projects and endorse. And just when it seemed like the storm had finally calmed, just when people thought they had seen the worst of it, the final wave of truth came crashing down. And it was impossible to ignore anymore, because as the legal walls closed in and the whispers grew louder, and the internet lit up with receipts, timestamps, contradictions, and damning comparisons. It became abundantly clear that this wasn't just a misstep or an oversight or some minor celebrity blunder. This was a carefully orchestrated narrative falling apart in real time. And Blake, lively at the center of it all, now faced the crushing weight of public and legal scrutiny, because the deposition didn't just expose cracks in her story, it exposed entire fractures in her credibility. And as creators kept uploading the court documents and new statements surfaced online, it wasn't just a fight between two celebrities anymore, it was a symbol of a much bigger issue. A cautionary tale about reputation manipulation, influencer privilege, and the dangerous game of leveraging fame to silence critics. And as more creators joined the movement, as hashtags trended across platforms, and as even mainstream outlets cautiously began covering the contradictions, the court of public opinion grew louder and less forgiving. And the evidence kept trickling in slowly, deliberately, relentlessly, each piece making it harder for her team to spin a new angle. And the illusion of innocence that once protected her dissolved almost overnight, and what's left now is a deeply fractured public image, legal consequences that may just be beginning, and a community of voices no longer afraid to speak up, because the truth has a way of coming out. No matter how many PR strategies are high-powered, lawyers are thrown at it. And if this saga has proven anything, it's that transparency still matters, that no one is untouchable, and that the internet doesn't forget. And for Blake Lively, it might just be the beginning of the end of the version of her the world thought it knew,